Corruption has begun to run rampant throughout our criminal justice system. Innocent women and adolescents alike are being taken advantage of, abused, and unlawfully treated by those in power in the criminal justice system and the system itself. We as a society have placed our faith and trust in those who we elect as judiciaries to act accordingly. But sadly, with the cancer that is corruption, we've begun to place a negative stigma and mistrust in the system and those affiliated with it. Now today I'd like to answer the 4 important questions pertaining to this topic. Who, what, where, and why? Who is this affecting personally? What forms of corruption are actually taking place? Where is this taking place? And why? Why is it that those who we place our trust in end up down this beaten, immoral path? So first, I'd like to answer the question of who. Who is this affecting personally? Sadly, the underprivileged portion of society tends to be the target of these forms of corruption and abuse, many of which never fully recover from these forms of corruption and abuse because they are stuck in this never-ending cycle, the cycle that is our system. Once you are placed in the system and stuck within the system, it is very hard for many to escape it. Next, I'd like to answer the question of what. What forms of corruption actually take place within the criminal justice system? Now, those in power tend to utilize these underprivileged peoples for their own sexual favors or their monetary value. Different forms of corruption that take place are bribery, extortion, political interference, and most importantly, sexual exploitation. Now, where are these forms of corruption taking place? They don't just end in the courtrooms. They carry on into the prison systems. Sexual exploitation specifically, or especially within the women's prison system, sexual exploitation has become one of the most prevalent forms of corruption. They refer to it as, the female prisoners refer to it as survival sex, and it is exactly what it sounds like. They are giving into the sexual needs of those in power simply to receive the basic human rights that you and I receive on a normal daily basis. And those who subject themselves to this awful form of abuse, they receive special treatment. But those who reject the abusers and don't give in, they receive scrutiny and reprimand as a result. They legitimately receive punishment just for, it's awful to think about, but they genuinely receive punishment simply for not giving in. And next, I'd like to answer the question of why. Why is it that those who we place our faith in as these judiciaries end up down this beaten, immoral path of corruption? And it comes down to 2 simple topics: greed and lust. Greed and lust both overrun the minds, and they cloud the minds, the judgment of those who are supposed to remain neutral. They are supposed to abide by the human rights and constitutional rights of those who they judge. To wrap up here, I'd like to once again reiterate that corruption has truly taken the criminal justice system by storm. With forms of corruption such as bribery, extortion, and sexual exploitation, underprivileged peoples of society are receiving unjust treatment, and that must change. If reform does not occur, revolt is most likely going to occur.